Here we are with another episode of Talking Sports with the Legend. Tonight's guest is Carol Di Girolamo from the University of Delaware Valley University, I should say, and she is the women's field hockey coach.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you from?
So I grew up, for a short time, I lived in Northeast Philly until I was about 8. I grew up in St. Tim's Parish out in Mayfair. And then, like a lot of people do, my parents, we moved over to South Jersey, went to Paul VI High School. So grew up there and have been back in PA really since college.
Where?
She already told the high school. Where'd you go to college?
What?
Ask her where she went to college.
Oh,
College, just say college.
what?
She already said she went to high school, Paul VI. Where'd she go to college? Where'd she go to college? Ask her where she went to college.
Where did you go to college?
So I went to college at Alvernia University. It was Alvernia College then, but now it's Alvernia University.
Yeah, Steven knows them. They're the team that plays Division III, and they play in the same conference as Brent Athen.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we saw them play Alvernia in
Albania,
lacrosse or something.
Yeah.
Probably baseball, soccer.
One of them. Yeah. Yep. I remember that name because I asked one of the parents. I said, "Where's Alvernia?" And they're like, "Allentown." And right away. And Alex, one of the guys you just interviewed was from Alvernia.
Oh yeah, because you interviewed Diotis, I think.
Yes,
right?
Diotis from Doherty.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where he went too. Yeah.
So yeah, Alvernia is a small college, but a lot of local ties. You know, you get a couple Philly people, a couple South Jersey, but yeah, it's kind of getting bigger now. When I went there, not many buildings. Now it's a lot bigger.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What sports did you play as a kid?
As a kid, I played field hockey, obviously. I played basketball, did track, played softball, but in high school, really just kind of concentrated on field hockey, tried to play basketball. But after my freshman year, I kind of knew it probably was best I just stick with field hockey.
Did you always want to be a coach?
It started when I was in college. I was fortunate to have a really great coach. She made the sport fun, but at the same time competitive. So I knew by about my junior year in college, I kind of wanted to stay in the college setting and coach and work in athletics. So, I kind of got lucky and it's worked out. I've been doing it for a while now. So I always say, I kind of knew then and been doing it for a long time now.
What was her major in college? Ask her what her major was in college. Ask her. It's not on there. Ask her what her major was in college.
What was your major?
So my major in college, and if my dad watches this, he's going to laugh. I was a history major. I don't know why. I never did anything with it. But at the time I thought, hey, I'll be a teacher and then I can coach. I didn't realize, you could kind of work in college athletics, and I didn't think I could have a future in that. So once I knew I could do that, I went to graduate school right after Alvernia and went to Temple and got my sport management degree. So, the history degree I never did anything with, but it all worked out.
That's all right. I'll give you a round of applause because I went to a very small college with Kathy Killian, actually, called Spring Garden College.
Oh, yeah.
And we were Division III for 1 year, my senior year. Before that, we were NAIA. And there wasn't as many scholarships offered. I mean, majors offered there.
Right.
It was like Kathy and I were the same. It was either accounting or business management.
Right.
And that was it. Otherwise, you had to be an engineer or architect. I wasn't doing none of that. And I wanted to sell. I knew I was going to be a salesman of some sort, or I wanted to do what you had said, go into coaching and all.
Right.
But, our paths changed in our lives, and I got married while I was in college. So I took a job in retail right out of college. Whereas you were single,
graduated, and then you had options, and that was a great option to take. See what she did.
Right.
She
Mhm.
graduated, played sports, loved it so much, she wanted to go. So then she went to Temple
Mhm.
to get her sports management
Oh,
degree,
wow.
and then she got into the,
Mhm.
and a friend of ours, he's a little bit younger than Steven. He went to college for that, but then he never stuck with it when he got out. He just wanted to get a regular job doing,
Right.
and some people, you got to stick with it. You got to love it, and you got to want to do it, and that's it.
Right. You got to put your time in. I mean, it's grueling at times. This
Yeah.
year's been, I've been doing it for 20 years, which is crazy. And this was the first year, like first August and fall, I didn't have a season. And since I was in college, and it was the weirdest thing. I was like, it's weird to have a life and actually be able to make plans. And, it was just, it's been a crazy year. So it was the first time in a while that I had, a fall to actually plan things on the weekend. So if you don't stick with it though, if after a while, I think people get like, oh man, it's not worth it. But I think if you really love it, you continue with it.
Absolutely. And then tell us a little bit about field hockey season. Stephen, we never went to schools that had field hockey in our area.
So we're a fall sport. So, when we're playing, we have the soccers. I know you're a big soccer guy. Similar to soccer in the way the field's set up. Way back in the day, we even had offsides. We got rid of that rule when I was playing in college. So we play in the fall. Field hockey in Division III in this area is huge. I mean, everyone from Cabrini has it to, Eastern, like all the schools, I kind of say down 476. So it's huge around here. And even where I'm at Del Valle, I mean, we have, we can play Gwinnett Mercy, which is right down the road, Arcadia. So it's really a popular sport. And I think it's more, when I played, it was kind of like, oh, there's field hockey, the other sport that plays. The girls that can't play soccer go play field hockey. And that's the truth, because I can't kick it. I mean, like sometimes I'll kick a soccer ball at field hockey practice if we're sharing a field. And the coach for soccer is like, don't ever do that again. So it's similar. The field setup similar, the goal cage is a lot smaller, and our goalies wear equipment, almost like ice hockey, similar equipment to that, but laid out, very similar to soccer.
And then the recruiting season is all time. So that's why, like you were saying about the summer, you do camps and everything too, right?
Yeah. So we, recruiting, there's a lot of tournaments. Like next weekend, there's a big tournament. Easter weekend, there's so many huge turf facilities now. So there's one in Delaware. We go to a lot of those tournaments. Like it kind of starts now through July. And then when we can get to high school games, we'll try, but it's tough because a lot of times we're playing when high schools are playing.
That's what they're playing. Yeah.
So I think tournaments have just been huge, and there's a lot for field hockey, but when I think of a sport like soccer, I mean, they play year round, every weekend. The club sports at that sport are huge. The recruiting's year round. Last year we lost a whole year with it. I mean, this time last year, all these tournaments were canceled. So it'll be nice to be back and kind of get back at it.
Now, a question that Stephen asks often, and we didn't write this one down, but do you have another job, or is this your full-time job?
Yeah, so it's full-time. I also am, I run compliance, which is like all the NCAA rules. So for all the coaches, I make sure we're following NCAA Division III rules. I'm also the senior women's administrator, which is really just a female administrator in the athletic department. So, I have a lot of hands-on with decisions made, and I get to, for our conference that we're in, I'm in on those meetings. So
they should have a woman. They should have a woman in every one of those things.
Now they do. The NCAA, has put that in, which, after the controversy with the weight room at the NCAA basketball.
Oh, that was awesome. Did you see that, Steve?
Oh my God. I mean, the sad thing was I wasn't surprised. I was like, I
was laughing because where I went to school, Kathy was a great basketball player. So we didn't even have a gym until her senior year. She played at that gym, and it was an old Pennsylvania school to deaf is where they played at. So it was a real small gym, like no seating, no nothing. So I played soccer always away fields and what have you. But to see it at NCAA, the girls were playing their tournament, the same time the men's are, right? But
Yeah.
different nights and all.
Yeah.
So the girl goes, and the one school, what school was it?
I think it was Oregon.
Oregon University had their men's and women's team were both practicing in the same facility. And the girl goes, here's our weight room. And it was a set of dumbbells in a triangle like this, like maybe like 10 dumbbells. And that was it.
Oh,
And then
wow.
she goes, let me show you the men's weight room. And it was a full gym, like,
Yeah, it was like Planet Fitness. It was
Wow.
huge. Yeah, it was crazy.
So then it was a big out. It was only because of this thing that you're on right now. Not, she wasn't on Zoom. She was on Instagram or one of your favorite,
Yeah.
one of your favorite hangouts. I'm surprised you didn't see that. Yeah, because
Oh, yeah, it was all over Instagram.
Yeah, Steven's a big
Gotta
proponent
look
of
it up.
women's sports. Steven is a big proponent for women's sports, and I am too. I got two
with,
granddaughters.
like, you're into Holy Family Soccer, right? That's your big.
That's his thing, man. He's the assistant. 9th year. He just started this season. But
Wow.
unfortunately, he's on the outside of the fence yelling at the games.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's so much this year with the testing and the, you
Yeah.
know, we go through it every day.
His sister's a nurse, and we live with them, and we have 2 grandkids, so we're
so you gotta be
staying
careful.
possible. Yeah, we're all vaccinated. Steven got the first one. My wife got her first one, so there was
Oh, nice.
two. Yep.
And it's like 2 weeks ago.
A couple more weeks. Yeah, he had to go to Gettysburg to get his.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Gettysburg. And my daughter's a nurse, and she sits on the computer over and over as fast as she could get it. My wife was
Isn't it-
lucky; she got it right up the street from us.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was lucky enough to get it too. And it took my parents forever, and they were able to get theirs at Bucks County Community. Got lucky. Somebody said, call this number, you can go today. And they got, I don't know how.
They live in
But-
Bucks County.
Yeah, they live in Ben Salem. So they grew
Yes.
up in Philly. My dad went to North Catholic. My mom went to Little Flower.
What's your dad's last name?
Di Girolamo.
Same name. Okay.
So he, I mean, he's probably, I don't want to say, I guess he's 72. I always get their age messed up. As long as I don't get my mom's age
What
messed up.
neighborhood did he grow up in?
He grew up in Pompey Parish. So Rising Sun, he lived in Rising Sun, I guess.
Oh yeah, now they go to Doherty. So yeah,
Yeah.
because of his age, Doherty wasn't open yet. Right.
Right. So he, you know, they're always in their Little Flower gear, their North Catholic gear. So
That's awesome.
um,
So your mom
yes.
graduated from Little Flower.
yeah,
That's
yep, my
awesome.
mom and her sister, yeah.
That's awesome.
So they
Oh.
grew up in Kensington. They lived on Tioga Street.
No
So
way. And what was her maiden name?
Carrie.
Carey.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. That's a popular name down that way.
Yeah.
'Cause all the-
So like Kathy Killian is friends with my aunt. My aunt's 6 years younger than my mom. So, you know, we've known Kat, I mean, since I was a kid, because I remember being like, oh man, Kathy played basketball in college because you didn't see that much,
yeah.
you know, growing up. And,
Yeah.
you know, she, you know, when I first got out of college, I interned at the Phillies for a little bit. So I saw your interview with Kathy. I see she's going to let you wear the ring. And I saw, and you're going to be hopefully getting that radio booth.
Oh,
That's awesome.
trust me. You should see how many offers he's gotten so far since we doing the Zoom. We met the Philadelphia Union's coach.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he invited us down as soon as everything clears and they're allowed to have people. You know, the guy from what was it? The guy that Jefferson, the guy that was
you signed his woman's
yeah,
one.
the athletic director guy.
Yeah, for Jefferson.
Jefferson, yeah.
Oh, cool.
You
Yeah.
signed his well now, no more.
Such nice people, you guys that, you know,
Mm.
coaches. And that's what I tell Stephen about, you know, people to do it have to have, it's like, you know, becoming a doctor or a teacher. It's the same thing in my eyes. We need people like you. And those people are the ones that have to suffer when they're young
Mhm.
to get into a job.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of the people we met, we did an interview with Michael Barkant from the Philly,
Yeah.
you know, from the Comcast.
Oh, right. Yeah.
A lot of these guys, they started by just, you know, being, you know, goffers at radio stations and
Joe
TV
Conklin.
stations. Joe Conklin. Yeah.
Right.
You know Joe Conklin, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody knows Joe.
You know what? I know where his house is in Sea Isle because everyone's always like, oh, there's his house.
That's funny. Yeah. He went to Doherty and he's a year older than me. And he's real good friends with the owner of a company I work for. And
Oh, wow.
played soccer with me. So I've known of Joe since the 80s, but I met him sometime in the 90s, and he's a real good, big fan of Stevens, and we're a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once everything opens up, Stephen, you're going to be like, your weekends are going to be booked.
They're booked. You kidding me? They're booked already. He's got me. He's got me going to a game this Saturday to do some scouting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Who are you going to see play?
Who we're gonna see play?
Jefferson's playing Caldwell.
Caldwell
Oh,
University out in Division II.
Yeah.
They're in like East
Yeah.
Orange or whatever, Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to this one here. That one there, number 6.
How far have you traveled for a game or tournament?
Probably the furthest on a bus was about like 6 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah.
No flights. You didn't go to Europe to play?
No, you know what we did? We fundraised twice. We've gone to Europe. We went to Barbados as a team and we opened it up to parents. And then we went to Bermuda as a team. So the girls fundraised. We flew out there, the parents had the best time of their life. It was like spring break for them.
Yeah.
So we got to do that. I guess Bermuda was like 3 years ago. So we would be due for a trip, but I don't think we'll be allowed to do one for a couple of years just because of everything going on.
Oh God, yeah.
So I forgot about those two. So yeah, we
Right,
flew out.
as I said, did you play with were the invitationals type of thing?
Yes, you went out and you played their national teams. Like Barbados, Bermuda, their hockey teams are so-so, but
Right.
Bermuda was, they're all players from Britain, and we played against guys because over in Europe, field hockey's huge.
Yes.
And it was so much fun because some of them, the guys were in their 30s, but they were in such great shape. And my girls were like, oh my God, they saw them. They're like, oh, we'll be all right. And I'm like, no, you won't. So it was cool to get to do that and to have their parents be able to go out there. It was a cool trip.
That's awesome. Yeah, Holy Family had a trip planned, and I don't know if it's still going to be on this summer. Oh God, and they raised money and all. And they still might do it. They said,
England.
Where were they?
Yeah,
Oh.
England. They're going
I'm
to go.
going.
Steven wants to go too.
No, I'm going for sure.
Okay.
Well,
Gotta renew that passport, buddy.
Georgia,
And you got you'll have your vaccination card. So
Yeah, we got your vaccination. We got to get your passport updated.
Georgia, you go for free.
Well, we're going for free. We still have to have a passport.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go to the pubs over there.
Oh God.
You'll have a great time.
Steve likes twisted teas. They don't have them.
I know. I saw that. I was wondering if you're going to be drinking a twisted tea during this.
Oh God, no, I don't drink on the job.
No, only this year. My home doing it.
Oh yeah, at home. Well, I didn't mean watching the games. She meant drinking now. Like
no. Oh no. After that.
Yeah, you don't want to see him when he's drinking.
Oh,
All right, how about this one?
Do you still get nervous before a game?
Oh, every time. We have our first practice next Tuesday. We haven't really gotten to do anything in a while. I'll be nervous for that, just to get the practice plan. I'm more nervous to see their fitness level after really being off for a long time. But before a game, the butterflies, it's always during the national anthem. You start realizing it's about to start. And I miss that feeling. We haven't had a game in, 15 months. So it'll be nice to get back to that.
So your season was canceled completely?
Yep. So we get a small season. It's more like 7v7 tournaments, not anything like it'll be in the fall. I expect in the fall it'll be normal, hopefully.
Good. I hope so too.
Yeah. So.
Did you?
Did you have a role model in coaching?
Yeah, I think probably my biggest role model was my college coach. I definitely look at, I'm a big fan of Gino, who coaches UConn women's basketball, Pat Summitt, some of the coaches that, you got to see on TV. I always look to them and read their books. But, I was fortunate to have a coach in college who kind of set me on the path of, how I'd want to do things and, learned a great deal from her. So, I think, especially as a female coach, you're always looking, at people you want to model yourself after. And, I think now there's so many female coaches that I have some players that have graduated and are in the coaching field now. So that's pretty cool. And when I play them, none of them have beat me yet. So I take pride in that, because that's always like, if they beat me, I'll never hear the end of it. So I love to see that. I love to see them, at different colleges working and everything.
That's awesome. You asked one of his questions later, but we'll still ask it later. That one there. Do you want to coach at a higher level?
Do you want to coach? Yeah.
Like a higher level, like Division 1 or 2 ever?
No, in the beginning, like when I was in my early 20s, I thought, oh yeah, that would be something I want to do.
Mhm.
Now, I love Division III because you're really a big part of their life. D1 is so structured and, it's a job. Those student athletes get up early and, it's field hockey 24/7, where Division III, I have girls who play lacrosse, like they're at a game tonight. So you're able to have more of a balance. And for me, I like that. And I like working in the athletic department too and doing administrative stuff, like down the road, after the days of coaching, I can see myself doing strictly that, like an athletic director type of thing. So I wouldn't want to bump up a level. I think, that ship has sailed. I'm, long in the game now. So I like the Division III model of everything.
Well, you don't have to tell us your age. We can tell you're in your 30s. Don't worry.
Yeah, I just turned 30.
That's right. You started coaching.
I just turned 21.
Yeah. You're one of those child prodigies.
That's right.
Now, do the players wear equipment? And now in lacrosse, they don't.
Yeah, so field hockey, they wear shin guards. And that's about it. Like high school, they wear the goggles, but in college, they don't have to wear it. So when you get hit with that ball, because you always get hit in the upper thigh, whoo, it. Like if I get hit at a practice, it just knocks the wind out of you. The only people that wear equipment are goalkeepers.
Even helmets, right? They're not allowed.
Yep. So the goalies wear a helmet and that's it. So everyone else, it's kind of like, the bruises during season, people are always like, man, I saw your team. They're so, they get hit in the arm or whatever. So it's, once you get hit with that ball or the stick, it can hurt.
Do, what the heck was I going to say? They wear mouthpieces. Oh, there. So the eyeglasses, I seen that in the high school. Like I seen stuff on, videos or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I see the goggles. Now, is there a lot of eye injuries in college?
No, they tried to make goggles mandatory in college. And I mean, I think every coach fought it because there's rarely eye injury. You might get hit here or more up here, but it's rare. And I think at the time when they were looking into in high school, when they do it, I get it because, there's not a lot of control in the game.
Right.
But it's rare. I mean, I've had a couple, but it's more right under the eye.
Right.
Or like the eyebrow.
Right. And then in soccer, we was like, we would smash heads once in a while. And unfortunately, I had 2 occasions. I never went on never got concussions from just like just split my head open. I guess I had a hard head or whatever, but soft tissue, but a hard skull. And what I always wondered about that was like in ice hockey, they got the high sticking rule. The guy hits you right in the face with the stick, even if it's an accident. But in field hockey, you're on the ground. You're like your stick's always on the ground.
Right. So it's rare. Like sometimes a stick, like if someone drives the ball, there used to be a rule, but they've kind of let the game play a little more. So I've seen some girls like, and it's usually at practice, someone's not paying attention, to be honest.
Right.
Like, get knocked in the head and it's just a huge, goose egg and, usually splits open, but it's rare, like really rare that, it's more the injuries like the ACLs and, that we see. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause me and Steven were at a place up in Warminster that has, there's, indoor facility for, so they had, field hockey girls practicing there up it's up in the but they yes
That's what we
my granddaughter was at the time, she's gonna be 4, she was like 3, and because it was last year, I think it was before the COVID, right?
Yep.
And we were watching the girls practice, and I was like, so I started talking to the one coach, and I said, "You guys got 4 goalies?" And she said, "Yeah, well, it's 4 different teams.
Oh, okay.
Both teams will have." On the club teams, she said, we'll have a goalie and then we'll have like a backup, but the backup a lot of times plays on the field. So if the goalie gets hurt, then they, switch it. So I said, you got a lot of girls getting hurt. She goes, no, 4 teams, remember? And I was like, oh, that's right. Because it's hard to get used to, because it was so funny because the girls.
Wasn't it like a tryout though?
It was a high school team, I think it was actually, and she was saying that I think they were all like freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and they have a freshman or JV or whatever. And I think it was a club. I don't know, but it was funny because we were noticing all that stuff. And I said to Steven, I seen field hockey fields all over the place because of all the different colleges. They all had, field hockey field right next to the soccer field, or it was included. You had to worry about the lines for the field hockey. Oh, that's the cross lines. And we were like, At Spring Garden, we just had soccer, man. That was it. Baseball, soccer.
And now we
basketball.
go in the,
Well, that's
like
the
our
other
turf
thing.
field at Del Valle, we have football. So we have football lines, field hockey lines, lacrosse lines, soccer lines. So
Right.
it can be like when we go to an away game, we have to explain to our team, like, oh, we're the red lines. And every game someone dribbles out of bounds. They're like, I got confused. It always, every field is so different.
It's crazy. I thought about that often
Mhm.
about, every sport, because when I played, you didn't have all those schools that did that.
Right.
Mm.
It was crazy. We played Del Valle in soccer, and they never I don't remember them having multiple field because it wasn't turf. It was
Right.
grass.
Now it is.
Well, now it is, right.
Yeah,
That's what
'cause
she's just saying. She goes,
yeah,
goes to all the
Only
fields.
time we got to play there about 3 years ago.
Do you know why colleges went to it? The same reason the pros did, for the money. But then the pros found out, because the players said, we're getting paid millions of dollars, so we want grit. And now they have good turf, and it's better
Right,
than it was back in the day. But back in the day, the turf was terrible.
Yeah, it was like that it was like that stadium, the AstroTurf. Yeah.
Sure, you played field hockey on it because
Oh,
I know you're younger than me because you said you're younger than Kathy. So you played field hockey. I used to go, we played. My college coach used to go to play Penn Charter's varsity team just to give us a workout and give those
Right.
kids experience playing against colleges. And then the coach would try to recruit some of the kids if they were good or
Right.
whatever. And it was funny because it's a whole different reaction. But he did it because we played Villanova every year at Villanova on the turf, so you had to get used to it. Because
Yeah.
like in the beginning, when some of the girls at Holy Family played on turf for the first time,
Mhm.
because there's not a lot of turf fields in Philly,
Right.
We're getting more and more of them now, but
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, well, this year all the games on turf.
Right.
Basically.
And they did all the games on turf this year because of March and April, because of the rain you get. So this way
right.
there won't be any rain outs,
Have their own turf, this Holy
No,
Family.
no. Tell her where you play.
Gwen Athens and Father Judge.
Oh, all right.
That's their home field.
Oh, wow.
Bryn Athens is right around the corner from us, and it's like an 8-minute ride in the car, so it's great. Sunday night they play at 6:00, so we'll leave.
Oh,
We're gonna get there early. We're gonna leave at
Yeah, I
5.
didn't know they
No,
used their,
no,
because we
no
play
way.
them in hockey, we play them in field hockey. So I remember when they got that turf field. So I didn't know Holy Family used that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful, that
Oh,
field, ain't
Yeah.
it? Yes.
I'll get there at 4:30.
4:30. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if that is in the doors.
Mm.
Yeah, because we overheard one of the girls, Holy Family. The mom said to
Because I
the
know
other
they-
mom, "I'm getting there at like 4:00 because you can park at the top of that hill."
Oh, yeah.
You remember how it's got the hill on the one side and the stands on
Yep.
the other side? Well, the hill, that's where everybody has to be because you're not allowed. Now, Stephen, we were allowed down for a girls' soccer game, and as long as we were behind the fence. So there's a fence there. And then
Right.
the people had in the stands, we had masks
in the
on.
bleachers.
So he might be able to go in the bleachers.
Oh, that'd be good.
So
He-
I told him
No.
I'm not, so I'm gonna sit in the back in my
I know
car.
they have a lacrosse
Right.
game at 2:00 when it happened.
Ah, okay.
So that's why our game's at 6.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
He's got it all figured
He's
out.
got
for
it
me.
all planned. Yeah,
Yes,
we'll tell
he
you where
does.
to be.
Oh yeah, he's my boss. I gotta do what he
Mhm.
says. How's this one here? How does your team?
How does your team look for this upcoming season?
Going into the fall, I thought we had a nice freshman class. I think we have 7 freshmen. So upcoming fall, I feel bad for my seniors. One senior is going to come back. She's going to start grad school so that she can play her last year.
Yes.
So we would have had a lot, 5 seniors this year. The rest of them will graduate on time. So I think it'll be young, but I'm excited because sometimes young is good. You're not as timid, like the upperclassmen know what to expect. These kids will come in and, they want to play. Like the girls that are playing lacrosse right now are loving it because they have a real season. Besides, the COVID testing and all the stuff they have to do every day. So I think the fall, I'm just excited to get out there and play other teams again.
What do you look for in a recruit?
And a recruit, well, it changes every year. For us, we're Division III, so it has to be a good fit for the school. We have some unique majors. We have a lot of players that come in to be veterinarians. So we have a pre-vet major, and biology is big for us. So always look to see what their major is. If they're nursing, unfortunately, we don't have that major. And I look for, hard workers. Like when I watch them at a game, I'm real big on body language. If I see them talking back to a teammate or to a coach, they could be the best player in the world, but that's the turnoff because, you're going to be stuck with them for 4 years. So I really look for, you just want a good person. And usually when you meet them and their families, when they come up for a recruiting visit, you kind of know right away. I always say the players I've coached that I keep in touch with, their parents were really into it and just so, they understood sometimes there's going to be tough love, playing time's not guaranteed. So it's just, you want to obviously a skill player, but sometimes you look more at like, are they a good person?
That is a great point. And as you were one of the first ones to bring it up about the mouthing off thing. No, it's funny because I had a big mouth on the field. But I was the captain of the team. Freshman year, one captain got hurt, so I used to stand in when he wasn't playing, and I never had a problem with speaking out. But I always told everybody, I'm only, encouraging. I never yelled out, "Carol, you suck. We get back on defense. What are you doing?" And that is a good point because a lot of kids when they're in high school, they don't speak out. Like I didn't talk as much in high school to the team because I wasn't, one of the better players. So I was, I made second team all Catholic my senior year, but I started every game and the whole game, but I still wasn't I didn't have a real big mouth then because I took, I played, you play your role on a team.
Right.
I got to tell people, if the guy who's the best player is also got a big mouth, and as long as he's encouraging people, he's helping the coach out there, and it gives the coach a break because then the coach doesn't have to do all the screaming and hollering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always say to them, tone is everything. It's the way you deliver the message. If you're like yelling at them, but you're not doing the job, it's not going to be respected. So it's hard to teach. Some kids get it right away, but I've as I've coached and been in it, 20 years ago, I feel like it was a little easier. They got it more. And, I think people have just changed a little bit. So we do a little more teaching about that stuff than we had to in the past.
No, and it's a great feature to look for when you're sitting and watching the game because those kids don't know who you are. If you wear your gear because you do want people to know that you're there, it's one thing. But if they don't see you with the gear and they don't know who you are or where you're from,
right,
it's a great way to watch somebody and then to see how they act. And a lot of coaches said exactly what you did. They want people to work hard.
right.
If they see the kid slacking because he thinks he's too good to play defense, especially in field hockey. It's just like soccer. You want them up and back, up and back.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, do you have a rivalry?
What?
Do you have a rivalry? Do you have a rivalry with another?
Do you have a rival with any team in your conference?
Yeah, we always have certain teams, for us, I would say DeSales up in Allentown, Misericordia. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're up in the Wilkes area. I've been playing them, I feel like my whole life. So, there's certain games that when you get ready to play them, the older girls who graduated will text the girls still there and me. They're like, you better beat them. Cause, whether it was just a tough game or, the girls talk to each other a little during the game. I would say there are two big ones, but honestly, like our conference is so competitive. I think like we all, when we meet for that game, we're all kind of, out for blood.
How many's on the roster?
We carry about 22. So 11 play. So, we try to have enough so we can, do full scrimmages.
Right. Because I was curious about that. So out of the 22 girls, Alvernia, for those who don't know, is an Allentown area. And where do you draw like the 22 girls and where are they from? Are they from like Jersey all over the place or what?
Yeah, we kind of like, I would say for a little bit, we were getting a ton of South Jersey girls like Deptford, Blackwood, like where I grew up. Now we have a lot of kind of like Berks County, a little bit Lehigh Valley, kind of all over. We don't get a lot of North Jersey girls. We'll randomly get some Maryland kids. So it has its years. Like some years we're real heavy with Jersey kids. And then other years we have a lot of Maryland kids. So I would say kind of like this region, like within a 3-hour radius.
Well, how about Del Val? You're in what county are you in?
So we're in Doylestown, so we're in Bucks. So we don't get a ton of local kids. I feel like, if we're right next to Central Bucks High School.
Right.
I think the kids, they want to go away. They don't want to.
Right.
Holy Family, Holy Family gets a lot of those local kids that want to stay, and
Right.
we don't get that. I don't think a lot of our teams have those ties locally. So we always, I rarely go to those local games. I'll go just kind of, that 45-minute and out.
So you sound like you're looking for the real student athlete, like I like to
Right.
say, the kids that are interested in going to college, getting some money for the program if they qualify for everything, blah, 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 but also kids who want to graduate in 4 years.
Right.
Some of the kids,
like-
I know what you mean about wanting to go away. Some of them are like, I want to go away. And then they kind of lose interest in the sport. And then they
Right.
just party at the school and do all that stuff. So
Yeah, and I think-
I got to ask you this question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I forgot
right.
to ask the basketball
Mhm.
coach, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Why are you called Delaware Valley College when you're not in Delaware Valley?
Is that like, how many people are like, oh, so you're in like if we're making a reservation? I guess it was, this college was started in like the 1800s. It was like a major farm school.
Right.
And it was started all ag, all men, and this is like way back. And I don't know if it was because it was in that, I don't even consider it in the Delaware Valley like region. I think of Delaware Valley more like 95, like Philly, Airport, 476,
Yeah.
So I don't, and like they've talked about, is it ever going to change? I don't think they'll ever change their name, but it confuses, and everyone just calls it Del Val, but there's a Delaware Valley High School in Jersey. I guess Central Jersey, right near.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so it's like, I guess about half hour from Del Val, like going towards like New Hope, like out that way, right over the border of Jersey. So we have a couple kids that went to that high school and then they come here, and I'm always like, wait a minute, I'm so confused. It's weird. But if someone gave enough money, I'm sure they would change their name. But yeah, I think it'd always just be Del Val.
Well, come on, let's get the money, get it, break open the pocketbook. Come on.
There you go.
That's too funny, man. Because I dying to ask somebody, and I forgot to ask the basketball coach because I remember playing them, and we used to go to Doylestown, and I was like, and at the time, I think I asked my coach, and he's like, I don't know, Steve, we're just playing them. We're on a schedule. So
and back, it's so farm, like it's changed so much. We saw farms, but like where the field hockey field used to be before we got the turf, it was lined with cows. And the cows would actually, when we got to practice or a game, would line up at the fence and watch. And away teams were like, oh my God, look at all the animals. And I'm like, oh, we're so used to the smell because it's, farm school. But other schools, and way back, there were so many animals on campus. But as it gets warmer, on a good day, I'll get out of my car. I'll be like, oh man, the farms are going today.
Oh God, that's so funny because my son went to Kutztown and he drove. Yeah. Oh God.
I know we didn't ask you this.
You got it.
What is your daily schedule like during the season?
What's our schedule like?
Yeah, your schedule as the coach.
I don't really have a life during the season. So I always say to all my friends and family, from August 15th through November 1st, there's really no social time and no, personal time. We're 6 days a week. Sometimes we practice, like next week we start our practices, we'll go 6 a.m. Because it's the only time we can get the turf. It's not, my favorite time. So we'll go either a 6 a.m. practice, or we might be a 7 o'clock at night practice. So, practice, I guess, 4 days a week, usually play 2 games a week. So, right during that, like soccer, like Holy Family, like right in that August time when it's the hottest days, you get on that turf and you melt. And then we're usually done second week in November.
What was the biggest game?
Was the biggest game you ever coached in?
Probably when we were the number 1 seed, we hosted playoffs, and it was the first year we got the turf at Del Val. So we just I had a great team. I mean, gritty players, played hard, you know, and all from different, we had a bunch of girls from Berks County, some Delco girls, like probably one of my favorite teams. And we were the #1 seed. I think we went in our conference like I guess it was 6-2, and just, you know, had the kind of the seed, you know, we didn't win the conference that year. We got upset, but then we got to go to play in the ECAC playoffs, which is, if you don't make the NCAAs, it's another chance for you to play, almost like NITs in basketball. And, you know, we got in, we were like, you know, I think the last seed, and we upset the #1 seed, and they were so bitter about it. So it's just one of those, you know, when I look at pictures and when I see those players, it's, you know, we always talk about it.
What year was that?
I think it was 2015, or I'm trying to think, it had to be around then, 2015.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember. Sometimes I don't know what year it is now, but yeah, I think it was, yeah,
There's no one.
around there.
Do you have friends or the coaches on other teams in your conference?
Yeah, she already told us that one. Said you played the girls that were your players that are now coaching now. Do they coach in the same conference?
They don't. We had one of my players was a grad assistant at one of the schools. So we, you know, whenever she's like, man, it's always the toughest day because when you shake, you know, they beat us. And when she's like, when you shook my hand at the end, I could see the look in your eye. I was like, because I had to cool down after the game. But the other girls coach, one's up in New Hampshire, the other one's up in Carlisle at Dickinson College. So I don't get to see them, but I'll see them out recruiting. Like when I go out next Friday, you know, we'll all meet up, which is always nice.
Well, was Dickinson in your conference?
No, they're not. They're in the, I think they're in the Centennial with like Swarthmore, Haverford.
I thought they played one time. I know they did. They played not Brathen, the old Beaver College, Arcadia.
Oh, Arcadia. Yeah, I think they did.
Because we were there watching the game in Arcadia.
Course, right?
Yeah, and it said Dickinson. And then I went up to that guy and I'm like, where are you at? He's like, what did he didn't say. What did you say they were near?
They're in Carlisle. I've never been.
Carlisle, right. He goes, Carlisle, PA. And I'm like, Carlisle, that's a good ways out there from there. And he's like, yeah, it's at 2 hours. And I'm thinking, because I grew up in Philly, and I remember Carlisle being like 3 hours from Philly.
Well, I always say, like, you know, we play, I said, once you get to the Lehigh Tunnel and you play the, you know, Wilkes, Kings, it's just a different world up there. And, you know, those schools that get a lot of their kids stay local. Like, they don't want to leave that area.
Yeah. It's weird. It is really weird how that works out at these colleges. Penn State, Abington, will you play them?
They don't have field hockey.
Yeah.
That's close to us. Steven's trying to think of all the schools that are close to us that you might play at in the fall.
You know, Bryn Athens coming to us. I'm trying to think who else.
Well, we can go to you guys because we ain't that far. So definitely send me.
Yeah, you got to come out to us.
Yeah, make sure Steven gets the schedule. Absolutely.
Yeah, It should be. We'll probably post it in June. Like we're still doing the times.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I have to send that gear. I know you sent me your address. I was waiting.
I love the different sports that I've never watched, and that's why I go with him I've gone to the women's lacrosse. I've gone to see different things, and I ask a lot of questions when I'm there because I'm interested in watching.
Right.
It's really neat. That one there.
Yeah, you definitely have to come out. I mean, and for you to come back, like campus, you know, it's a cool vibe. I mean, you know, we have a huge football team. We don't fill up like football. I mean, our football team fills the stadium.
Yeah.
You know, they were in the Elite Eight, I think, in 2019.
Yeah.
They're like, whew, they're really good.
He knew a guy that played there, and he was like really good. He went to Father Judge High School, graduated. It was in the 2000s, I remember, because he used to play softball, and he was in college. And
John Lavelle.
Yes, his name is John.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. He's a good guy.
So I went up to him and I was like, John, I know you're not as old as these guys because a lot of the guys were in their 30s and some of them were early, late 30s and whatever. And he was like, nah, Steve, I'm in college. And I'm like, where you go? He goes, Del Valle. And I'm like, what do you play? And I said, you're a big guy. Do you play football? And he's like, yeah. And he loved playing softball. So we became friends with him. And then Stephen was scheduled to go out to watch them play, and what'd you do? Break your leg?
Broke my ankle.
Ankle,
At
yeah.
soccer practice.
Special Olympic soccer practice. Oh,
Mm.
God.
And I prayed on it.
And he played the rest of the
You
practice.
did?
And he,
So you're
and
the
he
type
goes,
of play. That's the type of player I would recruit. You got to keep
Yeah.
playing.
yeah. Well, he comes home and he's like, my ankle really hurts. My daughter's a nurse at the time, takes his shoe off, and she's like, we're going to the hospital. Get her with that one there. Did you ever? I don't think she did.
Did you ever win a championship?
I haven't. I hope to soon. You know, we get close and it seems to be like, you know, right there, and we just have not done that. So I think all of us at Del Valle, you know, football has, and you get to watch them do that. Our men's basketball did a couple years, probably, like 7 years ago. So when you watch it, you see it, you know, that's what you definitely, you know, you want to be in those shoes.
All right. So now this is the question that you answered a little bit. So Stephen wants you to go ahead, Stephen.
Tell us about your former players and careers.
Careers, right? So now you already told us a couple of them are coaches. How about the non-coaches, like veterinarians? I like to hear them stories.
Oh yeah, so we have so to get into vet school, it's highly competitive. I never knew all this till I worked at Del Valle, you know.
Mhm.
So, you know, I don't have any graduating this year, but I've had, when you go to vet school, I have a player, she's now at University of Penn in her last year. I have girls who go to Mississippi, Georgia, like the big time schools, because that's where vet school is. So, you know, they'll either become and this is, I never knew this, a large animal vet. So they'll deal with horses, you know, all the farm animal type thing. Yeah. Or small animal, which is, you know, where you take your pets. So we probably have had, and I've been at Del Valle 15 years. I think we've had, I probably have about 8 girls that are working as vets right now, which is huge. You know, I have one that's living in Idaho, one that lives on the island of St. Kitts. She went to vet school out there, met her husband, you know, she's not leaving there anytime soon. So
see, that's what I'm talking about right there, Steve, man. See, that's what it is, man. It's not about, because like a lot of the guys he interviews, they've been basketball, and it's like, you know, they go overseas, they'll play in Israel, they'll play in Pakistan. They don't care as long as they're getting paid to play basketball.
Right.
And in certain sports, field hockey ain't like they're calling you up and signing you up.
Like there's nowhere to go. You could play
the women's professional field hockey team.
Right. Like you could play in an adult league, but you know,
yeah.
I mean, you know, I've been fortunate, like whether they're a teacher, they've all gotten jobs right out, you know, maybe not their dream job, but you know, and a couple just doing, you know, some are working in the business side. So it's kind of all over the place, but the girls that are veterinarians, I mean, because they go to 4 more years, it's almost like medical school.
Absolutely. I've met a lot of veterinarians at my job. I help people register cars. So where they're coming from out of state and they're going, you know, they're adults, they're 23 years old starting, or 22 years old starting, and they go to Penn, and I'm in South Philly. So they come to register their cars. And it's so funny because I met so many. My wife watches the one show from University of Penn, had a guy that it was a, you know, ER show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you ever see it? The guy, he wore a Jeff hat, and he comes in my work. So I'm like, how long you been here? And you're supposed to register your car. And I'm like, how long you been here? He's like, oh, about 9 months now. And this was before COVID. So he couldn't use the COVID, you know, as an excuse.
Right.
It's like, you know, oh God, but people get so busy, and I understand it. But I tell them, man, you gotta do it faster than this next time if you ever leave to another state. Oh, it's so funny, but it's great because that's what I said to Stephen. I'm always curious to talk to the coaches about the girls and the guys, like what majors they take.
Right.
And
yeah, because we have so many I mean, like small animal science, you know, like when I first got there, you know, I worked at Newman College before there, and that was like nursing, you know, it was very,
yes.
In Delco, it's nursing, teaching. And I get there and I'm like, what are these, all these animals on campus? My girls, some of their classes are hands-on, and they're like, oh, I was just down at the barn. You know, they have breeding classes. So it was like an eye opener, but now, you know, and some of their stories, that's a whole nother show.
Yes, I was about to say, not on this one.
Oh my gosh. I would be like, I don't
right there.
Yeah. They were like, you had it. They're like, you should come to a class. I was like, I have no interest.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you.
But that, you know, it's intense, and you know, the unique majors. And when we have our alumni game, which unfortunately because of COVID we didn't have last year, we can't have it this year. I would say we get like 30 girls who come back, and pretty much all from the time I've been there and a couple from before. And it's awesome because, they're bringing their kids and,
Yes.
they're all, reliving all the memories. And, the players that are here now are like, oh my gosh, like, who are these people? Because they're just they have a big presence. So
Yeah, well, that's great though. That's awesome. It really is. And that's one of the best parts, and that's what Steven always says.
oh yeah,
In the beginning, we always say, do you keep in touch with your players? And it's like every coach keeps in touch with them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I said to him, we'll try to think of a different way to talk about it.
Mhm.
Because, most coaches do keep in touch with if the guy was or woman was a decent person, they're all contact these guys because people go to their weddings and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And with like, the phones now, I mean, I'll text just, I'll think of, I'll be sitting in my office, I'll look at pictures around, I'll be like, oh, I wonder how she's doing. Let me text her.
Yeah.
So even the girls who graduated last year, because, they literally left in March and I haven't seen them since because they didn't get to graduate. So they'll come back and graduate this year.
Oh, cool.
They'll walk, they already graduated, but I'll get to
Right.
finally, it's crazy. I haven't seen them. So I'm excited for that.
That is awesome. That's very exciting.
No.
You got to tell that doctor from St. Kitts that you're coming next winter. You're coming to visit her.
She invited me to her wedding and I was like, I can't just drop it. It was like, we're, getting married in a month. And I'm like, oh, I want to, but I can't.
Yeah.
And she went to there's a vet school out there. That's how she ended up there.
It's
And,
amazing.
yeah, met her husband. He owned a resort or something. I'm like, man, you did right.
It pays to go to medical school out
Right.
in the country.
Absolutely.
Will everybody get an extra year of eligibility this year?
What'd you say?
Extra year of eligibility.
Will
Yes,
everybody get
so-
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. All fall sports and winter sports get it. So basketball, it's awesome because they pretty much had an 8-game season. So I know like you had Mark on, he'll get a lot of his guys back, and they're a great group of guys. We'll have one player take advantage of it. She'll come back. I think for like the females, they want to graduate and go to, get their job. And, I'm hoping maybe one more decides like they'll just start graduate school and play in the fall, but it'll be tough. Like if they get a job, they can't play hockey too. So especially a full-time job.
I tell Steven, it's so funny that you said that. I get customers all the time, and it's like I always tell people, you have any kids? Yeah, I got 2 girls and a boy. And I'm like, good luck with the boy. 'Cause you gotta like beat them over the head to do their homework. And it's like, and they know going to college is good for them, but it's like, I don't want to go. And I was
Right.
the same way. The only reason I went, my dad forced me to because I got a scholarship. Otherwise, I wouldn't have went. If they would have had to pay, he was willing to pay, and I was like, no,
Right.
I don't
My
want to go.
brother didn't go.
Your brother didn't go right away, but then he
Waited 2 years.
well, because I forced him to take the SATs, so he was able to get into college after he graduated 3 years after he graduated high school, all because
Right.
his dad forced him to take the SATs.
And that's what, like, if the guys can play one more year, especially football, they're going to play one more year. So they, took the option when we knew we didn't have fall season. A lot of those guys just went to community college for a semester or took, less credits,
Right.
Which made sense, like save money and,
Exactly.
go that route. So, I mean, they'll have a lot of guys come back, but I think most of the females, like, I'm graduating. I can't just come back to play a semester of hockey. And I 100% get it.
Yeah, and there's girls, like you said, you could play on club teams and all, but
Right.
football
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like soccer, and
Right.
you play on a club team and you don't go full bore, well, then you're gonna get hurt because you're not going
Right.
full bore. You gotta wait till
Right.
wait till you start playing some of the over 30
Yeah,
leagues, and those
exactly.
guys, but those guys are just as crazy. They go
Right.
out and they want to kill people.
Because what
So
about
Right.
the seniors? So ACL playing in the club
yeah,
in the fall.
that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Because you lose body control because you're like, you can't get there and you have to like throw your whole body into it.
And the people who didn't play sports don't understand exactly what you just said, but
Right.
your mind wants to do it and knows that you can do it, but you can't do it. Your mind thinks you can do it, but you can't.
Mhm.
Your body won't let you. All right, you gotta
And
finish
then
wrap up with his famous question.
If you
Uh-oh.
could have dinner with 3 coaches or athletes, they could be dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Oh man. 3. Well, I'm gonna say Pat Summit. She used to coach at Tennessee. She passed away. Just always love, like a couple years ago, they had a documentary, HBO followed her.
I
Man,
saw it.
She's
Yeah.
intense, like scary. Like,
Yes.
her players would always say, like, if she stares at you a certain way, don't even look at her. So I would say her, I just love, her teams and everything she did. Gino Ariema at UConn, I love watching him. I think his personality, he's a Philly guy, he grew up in North now. So when he talks, you feel like you're talking to someone you know.
Mhm.
And a third, I'd really have to think about that. I don't know. I might say, who I always say, Charlie Manuel. They always say, one of my good friends, he works in PR at the Phillies, and he is so close to Charlie. And he has Charlie over for dinner. I always see pictures of him with his kids, and they always say what a good guy he was in the clubhouse. He was real, and I mean, I think it showed in how they did, those years. So I probably would pick him just because they say he's a character.
Yeah, well, he played in in MLB, and then he went to Japan, and then he came back to America, and he started coaching. And then the one thing they say about him is, like, he knows what he's talking about, and if you just don't pay attention to his accent and his slang, could just pay attention to what he's actually telling you.
Right.
He's one of the greatest hitting instructors that they say ever was, and he was great with that team of players.
Yeah, and they say he's hysterical. They're like, the things he says, you probably couldn't get away with. Like, I'm sure, thank God they probably don't have cameras in there. But my friend's like, he is one of the best guys.
That's what I said. When people my age, and like I said, if you're close, but we didn't have cell phones, so people couldn't tape us while we were in college. Thank
I
God.
always say, if I would have had a phone in college, we had like a landline, like you had to go to the hallway phone. I would be in so much trouble, like between the pictures. I mean, like I always tell my players, I'm like, man, watch what you put out there, because it always comes back to haunt you.
Yeah.
I would have been, you had to send your film away, take pictures of you had to send your film away and pick it up, and then it would come in and you'd be like, oh, thank God it's double exposed, because you couldn't really see what was going on.
I like the part. I used to work at CVS, and you would see the pictures, and because you would see them coming out, and it was like, oh God, man, some of these people are going to be not happy when they see these.
No one, the kids today don't know that pain of like waiting to get it developed and then being like, oh my gosh, did I do that? So
Do you remember being at weddings where they put the disposable cameras?
Oh yeah. And then you were supposed to leave it there. I'd always get home and be like, oh, how's this in my purse?
Yeah. And then the people, you would send it back to, and the people would look at them and like, Carol, you can have all these. We don't want these ones.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it was
great.
it was better, it was a better time. Just,
Yeah, well, that's what I tell him all the time. But if it wasn't for social media, this guy wouldn't be out there right now. So
I know, I follow all this.
Yeah.
So
we love the internet, right, Steve?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
see, I love Instagram. You can find some good stuff, TikTok, all
Yeah.
that. Yep.
I go on once in a while, but I just can't take some of the people on that. So I go on Twitter. I go to Twitter for my news, and I look at, I follow certain people.
Right.
Are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter. I
Okay.
just never
All
got
right.
into big on Facebook, like.
Yeah, that's Steven does the Facebook, and my wife does the Facebook, but I'm not a Facebook person.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you.
well, I'm really looking forward to coming out to see your campus.
Yeah, well, and I'll send you, I have those shirts for you. I was waiting for one more shirt to come in, so I'll mail them out to you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I had so much fun.
Yeah,
Hey, one day we'll meet up.
He'll email you the address, and then you email us the schedule, so we know.
And one day maybe we'll catch up. You can have your twisted tea. I'll probably just have a beer or White Claw. And maybe after the game you come to.
You go to see a lot?
Yeah, I usually go every weekend. We have a place right outside. So
there you go. We can hook up down the shore. Stephen likes to get a
I
wild
can't
here
wait
and
to
there.
get down the shore.
So we can get to see Al. So there you go.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
All right, Carol. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yep,
so
thank
much.
you.
Been great
All right,
interview.
bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Another hour one, Steve. She was really good.
What is the matter?
But you see, Steve, what she said? It's the tone